So Mikel Arteta wants 4 signings in January in 4 different positions. That is a centre-back, a winger, a striker and a midfielder, and Arsenal have to work within 50 million euros. Now, Mikel thinks that if he gets around 4 players, then his squad will be a little bit better and well equipped to go all the way until the last days of the Premier League and probably win the Premier League, win the Champions League. We could do a double, we could do a treble if we can actually compete at all fronts. So I kind of agree with Mikel. We really need a couple of signings. I thought he would actually want 2 midfielders and not a defender, but he wants 1 midfielder, 1 defender, 1 striker, and a winger as well. So what are we doing in this video? We are putting forward names that Arsenal can actually sign in January, and those names will not cost Arsenal more than 50 million euros. So it's a very difficult job that Edu and Mikel Arteta have to do, spending around 50 million euros on 3 or 4 different signings. It's not easy. It means you're going to explore the deals, or like loan deals, free deals, which are not very, very common in January as well. And probably you have to structure deals in a way that you either buy a player on loan and then you can actually, sign them in the summer, things like that. Now, when you look at the players that we are actually looking at, the likes of Matthias de Ligt, the likes of Ivan Toney, those are expensive signings. Only Matthias de Ligt and Ivan Toney could cost Arsenal in excess of 200 million euros. But we want to win the title, and we desperately want to get to the semi-finals at least of the Champions League. So how do we get that quality? How do we get in players without spending a lot of money and putting ourselves in FFP, situations? That is why I'm doing this video. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comment box below. A striker, a winger, a defender. Which one would you actually consider? Which player would you consider per position? Right. So let's get into it. Let's start off with the strikers. And I've gone straight away with Sahu Guirassy at Stuttgart. Now, he's one of the players that everyone is talking about. He has a very, very cheap release clause at the moment. 17.5 million euros. AC Milan are interested, and AC Milan being interested actually gives me vibes for the next player we're going to be looking at this list, right? But Guirassy is a young player and very talented. Now, we are looking at strikers. We're looking at players that can join in at Arsenal and give us around 17 goals in all competitions. I think Guirassy is one player to think about. I think Guirassy is one player that we actually can sign. Now, I like the deal because it does not have a lot of it doesn't have a lot of pushes and whinings. As long as you can pay 17.5 million euros as a release clause, you're actually going to sign him. It's all about convincing him that we are actually the right destination and we are the right club to actually to sign for. Because Manchester United is there, AC Milan are there, Tottenham Hotspur are there, and a couple of other clubs are also interested in this very, very interesting player. Now, Guirassy right now holds the record of the most number of goals scored by a player in the first 7 Bundesliga games. And I tell you what, it is crazy because Guirassy scored 13 goals in 7 games this season for Stuttgart in the German Bundesliga. It's absolutely crazy. It's mental. So he's one of the players I would look at, young as well. So it means that if Arsenal can actually bring him in, we can move on Edin Ketia in the summer, and Guirassy can become our second number 9. And it's a deal that will come a little bit cheap. If you decide to sell him, you can get your 25, 35 million euros, out of him. You'll make a profit on him. It's not a bad deal. It's not a bad deal, at all. However, the questions on Guirassy are easy. Can he be the striker that Arsenal need? Is he the striker that Arsenal can actually rely on to get in the goals in the important moments, like Champions League? He's not been there. FA Cup, when you're playing the quarterfinals, or you're actually playing Liverpool at the Emirates Stadium next season, next year. Can he be the difference? Can he actually be the difference at the Etihad? there's a big question there because he doesn't have that kind of experience. But I have a player that actually has that kind of experience, and that player is Olivier Giroud. Olivier Giroud has played for Arsenal, has played for Chelsea, has played for AC Milan, and also he is a World Cup winner. Now, listen, guys, this one is a very difficult one, and it's one that we have to think about. Olivier Giroud is not a clinical striker, and he is not one to score for you tens and tens of goals. But his profile is actually very, very interesting, and he's one of the players that you can actually bring into this Arsenal side, and you will be rest assured and guaranteed that he will actually score a couple of goals. Now, he's taller, physical, and there is a whisper somewhere that he could score header goals, right? That's what Arsenal need. In games where you're not going to dominate Bayern, in games where you might not dominate Madrid, you might actually need some kind of player that can actually score a header from a corner, score a header from a free kick. That is Olivier Giroud. Now, Guirassy will cost 17.5 million euros. If AC Milan can sign Guirassy, it means Olivier Giroud could actually be available on a loan deal, on a potential loan deal in January. I'm not really sure if AC Milan will actually go and sign Guirassy because they're interested, but that could actually work in our favor. He's a very, very good player. Very good player. He can come on a cheap. Olivier Giroud. Experience really matters. He's played in the World Cup. He's played in every European competition, and I think he has won every club European competition. I think he has the Champions League with Chelsea, probably, if I'm not mistaken, and he has won the La Liga as well. The League One, well, with AC Milan, with the Italian Serie A, sorry, right? Actually, he has he's won the League One with Montpellier as well. So listen, he is a winner, but he is a very experienced player, Olivier Giroud. So it's one of the strikers that I would actually consider if we are looking at offers, if you're looking at players that will not cost Arsenal a lot of money. When you talk about the wingers, then actually not wingers, but the midfielders. In the midfield, I think Arsenal should consider Calvin Phillips. Now, Calvin Phillips is more likely to go to Newcastle at the moment because they have that kind of hole in their midfield where you have Sandro Tonali being banned. But I think Manchester City will not stand in the way of Calvin Phillips if he wants to leave in January. And this is an opportunity. This is a huge opportunity for us. He has not actually had anything good as part of his career at Man City. He did win the treble, but that doesn't count. Like, it really, really doesn't. That doesn't count. It's a treble where he had no contribution. We might actually offer him the opportunity to win something where he has a real contribution. That would be, at Arsenal. It's going to be very difficult for us to beat Newcastle at signing Calvin Phillips because at Newcastle, there is a guarantee. He will be playing alongside Bruno Guimaraes, and there is also a guarantee that if he does well, he will actually sign on a permanent. And there is also this. I think Newcastle need a number 6 more than Arsenal. And Calvin Phillips knows if he goes to Newcastle, he's going to be a long-term, starter in that team. He's going to be a long-term player in that midfield. However, it doesn't hurt us to try. It doesn't really hurt to try. I think Arsenal should try all their chances. We should put all our eggs in this basket of Calvin Phillips. If it works out, this guy could be a real game changer. But of course, if we can't get him, then Youssef Fofana from Monaco is one of the other options that we can actually look at. Now, Youssef Fofana has traumatized the Arsenal midfield. He has terrorized the Arsenal midfielders when we played them in the Emirates Cup this year. And I tell you what, there is a player in there. Monaco asking for around 30 million euros. That is quite a decent fee for a French international. He's one of those players that I think in the next 2-3 years, he's going to be hitting his prime and he's going to be hitting it really, really hard. So, Youssef Fofana, I would like. Gives me the kind of party vibes, can do box to box as well, is a good ball winner, and he loves to always go into advanced positions. That's what Mikel Arteta loves. He loves midfielders that are quite industrious, and I think Youssef Fofana is a very, very industrious player. So if we can get him for 30 million euros, that means that Arsenal can go and sign probably Olivier Giroud on loan, and that still keeps it under 50 million euros. Okay, so those are my midfield picks. Let me know if I am actually missing someone who is quite good and quite obvious on the transfer market. So let's talk about wingers, and number one is Yeremy Pino from Villarreal. This guy should be playing for a Premier League side. Now, I do not know how Unai Emery has not signed him. I don't know how West Ham, Brighton, all these clubs have actually not looked at him. But there was a time when Yeremy Pino was the brightest thing in Spanish football, right? Apart from Dani Olmo, because I really, really do love Dani Olmo, and I think he's a brilliant player. But Yeremy Pino, still very young. Arsenal need a winger. There's no question about that. I think we need competition for Saka. We need competition for Gabriel Martinelli as well, and I think Yeremy Pino can actually help us, achieve that. He's got the ability to play on the left. He's got the ability to play on the right as well. He might not come very cheap in January, but there is a potential that we might do a deal, initially loan, and then sign him in the summer. There is such an opportunity. There would be such an opportunity. So Yeremy Pino is another player that I think Arsenal should be thinking about and locking ourselves into conversations to make sure that we actually get him. If we want a winger, there are not so many that can actually be available, but I think that guy can be available. The other player that I think would be available, this one is a very difficult one as well, but how about this man, Harvey Barnes at Newcastle? Yeah, it's a crazy shout. Listen to me, it's a crazy shout, but what if? What if Harvey Barnes could actually join Arsenal? Now, I think with the Harvey Barnes situation, it's easy. He's gone to Newcastle, he wants to upgrade his career, and it has not happened. And he's thinking, why didn't I go to Tottenham Hotspur with James Maddison? Why didn't I try to go to Tottenham with James Maddison? And probably that could have worked out better. Hey, Harvey Barnes, I have an offer. How about you come to Arsenal and provide that kind of depth that we need for Gabriel Martinelli and Saka? Now, I think Harvey Barnes has always played as a left winger, and he is left-footed. I think he would actually make one of the best inverted wingers in the Premier League. And the reason, he likes shooting a lot. Like, he's one of the players that every single 90 minutes that he spends on the pitch, he will have around 2 to 5 shots outside the penalty area and maybe 2 inside the penalty area. He loves shooting. He can actually be transformed into a very good winger and a very good inverted winger. So Mikel Arteta can think about Harvey Barnes at Newcastle. I don't think he's happy. I think a loan deal initially could actually do the trick. And if he's the profile that Arsenal would want, like we have heard always, that Arsenal have always looked at him and tracked him, then we can actually sign him. I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's a very, very good player. Okay, let's get to the defense, which is Mikel Arteta's priority. There is this man. I mean, the picture doesn't actually show his face, but it shows the action. Ousmane Diamonde, 19 years, soon turning to 20. He is, if you're looking at young centre-backs, if you're looking at centre-backs that are actually going to be great, guaranteed successes, Ousmane Diamonde at Sporting Lisbon is going to be a great success. Now, this picture was taken at around the same time last year when we played Sporting Lisbon in the round of 16 in the Europa League, and they successfully dealt with us. That is the time when we played Ousmane Diamonde alongside Goncalo Inacio. Arsenal want Goncalo Inacio. We have scouted Ousmane Diamonde for some time. He might not come cheap in January. He might not come cheap, and I don't think Sporting are looking to do a loan deal. So it might be put the money on the table or you simply walk away. But how about if Arsenal could walk in there with a 30 million euro deal initially, which can actually increase in the summer, which can be increased in the summer, I think they would consider that. I think they would actually listen, right? I think they would actually listen, like, to be honest. So I think Osman Diamonde, one player to watch in January, as Arsenal, in my opinion, will be trying to sign him. I won't be surprised if Arsenal are trying to sign him in January. And lastly, the man himself, Matthias de Ligt. So Matthias de Ligt, we've talked about him. Good player. I think his Milan Skriniar levels, he is Virgil van Dijk levels. But we have seen a dip in form ever since he got out to the world from Ajax, and he was exposed to the role of being the main centre back. I think Arsenal can transform this guy's game. I think we can get much more from Matthias de Ligt than Bayern and Juve have done combined. However, getting him on loan in January might be kind of a risky deal and a risky mention. But if he is willing to join and Bayern are willing to explore a deal, then it might not be such a bad shout, right? We can get him and promise to pay £70 million for him in the summer. If Bayern actually really like the deal, we might get ourselves one of the best generational talents, at centre back in like the last 10 years. But I want your thoughts there in the comment box below. What do you think about my shouts? What do you think about my list? Because next we will be doing the names that Mikel Arteta has actually put on his transfer wish list January and in 2024. I see you soon. I see you right in the next one.